Good morning, everyone. Just before I start my presentation, I've got two examples which I want to ask a couple of students. Right, so we'll start with Raha. Right? The world is deluded, and English is not the lingua franca as everyone believes it is. Do you agree with that?
Sorry, I can't understand.
So the world is deluded, and as many people believe that English is the lingua franca of the world. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Do you agree with that? What's lingua franca? Okay. Hannah, what is language planning? Oh, anyway, okay. So basically, those were two examples. What were the problems with these two examples?
You didn't give them a chance to answer.
Which examples? Okay. And the first one, what was the problem with that?
She didn't understand.
They didn't understand you.
Exactly. Right? And therefore, that's what I'm going to be speaking about is how as teachers, we should accommodate communication to the needs of our learners. Okay? Right. Okay, so the aims and objectives of my presentation, basically we'll be talking about the communication accommodation theory, also in short known as CAT. Okay, so the background on that, what EFL teachers need to consider when teaching EFL learners, what teachers should be careful of when trying to accommodate to the needs of the learners, some research carried out on CAT, conclusions, findings, and references. Okay? Right, so what is CAT? What is communication accommodation theory? Right? Cardiff-born Professor Harry Giles, professor in linguistics and psychology, currently in the University of California, he stated that CAT was intended to explain those speech changes which appear to be instigated by the speaker's motivation to gain the approval of or dissociate himself from the listener. Okay? And Giles and Powers in 1975. So he developed the CAT theory in 1973 after questioning why his speech changed. So basically, when he was younger, he was in many different situations, be it at a soccer game, be it with colleagues, be it with friends, and he realized that his speech always changed depending on who he spoke to. So he wanted to study further into this and wanted to find out whether this was true for everyone. He questioned why he was a linguistic chameleon. What is a chameleon? Does anyone know?
It's an animal that changes colour depending on its background.
Exactly, good Josh. It's a chameleon, it changes colour depending on the environment he's in. So exactly what Harry Giles wanted to find out, did people also change how they speak depending on the environment they were in? And many linguists did use his research after it. Okay? And there was an interview carried out, and you can watch it on your time. And the man himself is right in that corner. Okay? Right, so we got a little cut here. So the communication accommodation theory. They are, the first type is convergence. Okay? Right? Nice little picture there. And the second type is divergence. Okay? So now we're going to see evaluate what these are. So what is divergence? Divergence is when a person persists in his or her original style, perhaps for reasons of authenticity or consistency, regardless of the communicative behavior of the interlocutor. Interlocutor, anyone? The person you are speaking to. Okay? So basically, when you're speaking to a person, for example, me and Misbah are speaking, I will not speak or go to the same level as Misbah. I will keep to my original style, regardless of whether she understands or not. Okay. Boris obviously gave that definition. So now we'll go on to convergence, which we'll be speaking a lot more. Okay, so convergence is speakers, teachers, may modify their speech, change their speech in order to sound more like other people. So students, for example, they talk to achieve greater social integration with them, so that there's more interaction going. Make the other person at ease. Charles and cool. Another definition given by Janet Holmes is people accommodate when the speakers like one another, right? Or when one speaker has a vested interest in pleasing the other or putting them at ease. So you understand, yeah? Right. So what does this mean as teachers? As teachers, we have to converge towards the speech of our learners in order for them to learn, understand, and maximize their learning. Okay? Right. 2 types of convergence. We've got downwards convergence and upwards convergence. Now, as we know, the teachers have a status in society. They are seen as high. Okay. So therefore, when a teacher is speaking, right, to a student and trying to converge to the student's level, this is called downwards convergence. The second type is upwards convergence, where the student is talking to the teacher and tries to imitate words as the teacher, and this is called upwards convergence. Okay, so there are many ways we can converge. First one being, go at a speed or pace of the learner so that where the learner will understand. Okay? Use vocabulary which the student will understand. And if they don't understand, ask them what particular words mean, so that the student is in the same level as the teacher. Speak L1 if known. So extreme circumstances, some teachers like L1 to be spoken in the classroom, some don't. But to make the student at ease, give them hints in their own L1 language, if the teacher knows the L1 language as well. Hand and facial gestures and activities involving student context. Personalize it to the students so that they feel comfortable in the classroom. So these are some of the ways that we as teachers can converge. We'll be looking at the use of vocabulary in further detail. Okay, so as teachers we should know the students' backgrounds, the culture, the capabilities. If you do not know the capabilities of a particular student and you ask the student constantly, they may feel that you're picking on them. So it would be ideal for you to understand the student's knowledge and the capabilities. So for example, if you've got an Arab student, making sure you differentiate between the P's and the B's. Yeah? So pencil, potato, etc. Ellie stated that learners may acquire words and structures in contexts that are relevant to their lives. Don't base the whole lesson around the student, but try to involve the culture so that they understand. Use simple yet efficient vocabulary. If students do not understand the vocabulary, this can be insulting and demotivating, right? So make sure that the students do understand. If they feel that you are speaking a completely different language, they may even walk out, and that defeats the purpose overall. So make sure the students are with you. So this can be done by asking students what particular words mean in the sentence just stated by the teacher. So if I said the example with Rabah, the lingua franca, I have to make sure that she understands the word before I even ask the question, so that she's in the same wavelength and she understands the question. Teachers may introduce different meanings of the same word to help students understand. For example, whether and whether. One of the main reasons is because the more able students, they will think that the same word will be used for different contexts, whereas as we know, whether and whether are two different, stated the same, two different meanings. But obviously this depends on the time that we have in the classroom as well as the level of students. And teachers may say each word clearly and separately in order to help students. What we as teachers have to understand is that if we don't clarify the way we speak, students will spell how they hear. So for example, as natives, those who can relate to me, we tend to say what you want, exactly like that. When non-natives say this, they will say exactly how they said. So they will spell the word exactly how they hear it. We have to clarify what do you want. Okay? So, non-native instead. Swinton and Kling stated, so in their book, mentioned Benzina et al. Study stating that a teacher needs to have good voice projection to manage a classroom efficiently. Okay? If you're clear and you're concise and you make sure the students are on the same page, they understand, then you'll get more of a conversation going and the students will be more interested in the lesson. Right, so issues with CAT. Okay? So over accommodating may be an issue. It may embarrass students. So for example, if I have Claudine who doesn't understand something and I am talking to her like she's a 2-year-old, when she does understand most of the sentence but a couple of words, this may be insulting. And therefore, again, may just walk out. Intimidated, yeah. So teachers may not be able to, the second issue is, teachers may not be able to accommodate to the student's level or the way the learners come across. As teachers, we may have students from all backgrounds, and we may come in a scenario where we come across a student who is from India, for example, and now trying to converge to their level may be difficult. The teacher may not be able to do it, so therefore that may be an issue. It is easier for upwards convergence than it is for downwards convergence. Teachers may not be able to simplify their vocabulary to the level of their learners. So upwards from student to teacher, the student is always hearing the teacher, therefore they try to imitate. The student is not always speaking in class, and therefore the teacher trying to converge to the student level may prove difficult. And some students may want the teacher to diverge. They may want the teacher to speak exactly how they do to enhance the student's vocabulary. They don't want the teacher to converge. Okay, so some research on CAT. Okay, so Krashen stated, Young in his book stated that cited Krashen in his book, stating that teachers often expect beginners to perform beyond their acquired competence and use part of language they have not yet acquired in the subconscious mind. Therefore, learners will show poor speaking performance because they are not skillful and competent in using the foreign language. Yeah? So teachers have to step back and make sure they don't run but walk. Gardner stated that the mindful teacher is learner-led. Although the teacher is in control of the class, the teacher is led by the pace of the learners. So the mindful teacher is learner-led, showing new possibilities to the learner at a pace appropriate to them. The learner sets the pace, which the teacher has to work to or adhere to. Okay? So what does this mean? As teachers, we are not expected to learn the culture or the background of the student, okay? Or put an act on or pretend to be one of the students, but to convert in order to help them feel comfortable and have a vested interest in pleasing the student. Right, so what has research shown? If people converge to the person they are interacting with, there's a sense of acceptance between the teacher and the student. Teachers accepting students and showing downwards convergence motivates and helps students' confidence. The students may feel that the teacher is there to help and not just do the 50-minute lesson and go away. In order to keep conversations to a minimum, some people diverge by using vocabulary beyond the understanding of the interlocutor. Give close answers and speak at a rapid pace. It's basically get the job done and just go. Don't prolong the conversation, basically. And from what Krashen and Gardner and others have stated, how teachers should accommodate to meet new learners involves an action on behalf of the teachers. Therefore, if students are struggling to understand, the teacher needs to step back and look at one's own delivery. So, are you, as teachers, accommodating to the needs of your students? Have I got time to play a video?
How long is the video?
About a minute.
Of a noun, an adverb describes the action of a noun, an adverb describes the action of a verb, a conjunction joins with relationship between a noun and a pronoun, and an interjection as a word thrown in to express feeling. Have you got it, Mr. Ishan? Nanda Kishore. Honestly. Why can't you? Lydia! Why can't you?
I'm sorry, that was Emma.
I've got a question.
So yeah, Josh.
Yeah. How much of a significant part does culture play in CAT
Yeah.
and the teacher-student relationship?
Okay. See, with culture plays a lot of part with a lot of parts with the English language teaching. One of the main ones is that we have a lot of students who feel shy and therefore they won't ask the teacher, what does this mean, what does that mean? Therefore they'll stay quiet, thinking the teacher will just think that, okay, the student's understanding. For example, I think in the China, culture is regardless of the answer being wrong, Chinese students have to answer. It's just part of the culture. They should not let the teacher get waiting. So it does play a significant part, but I think it's that teacher-student relationship, and they have to play that bond.
Before your teaching experience, were you aware of convergence? And do you think it's something that can be taught to teachers before, or it's just something that develops over time?
It can be taught to teachers, but putting it into practice depends on the actual input of the students. It can also be learned over time, but it's just, again, I mean, being in Saudi Arabia, I had quiet students, so I had to make sure individually going around asking them whether they understand or not. But it can be both. Can be learned over time.
In some teacher training programs, there is one module especially to conversion and diversion. Teacher training programs, especially for post-compulsory. Yes, it is.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned that teachers should adhere to the learner's pace. But do you think that teachers themselves, they are restricted by the curriculum and like assignments and all that sort of thing, that they'll be spending too much time?
That's true. It depends on how much communicative language teaching you have within your curriculum. To be honest, if you've got so many assignments that will restrict the CLT program, and therefore you're not going to have much conversation going on. So it just depends on the syllabus, to be honest.
Yeah. Can you see a difference between the lecture and, say, workshop or seminar? Because in a lecture, if you have a lot of students, you don't know whether they are native speakers of English or non-native speakers of English.
See a massive difference. I mean, in our own experience, having that relationship in the workshop, where we can speak to each other, we can identify each other's cultures, etc. Whereas in a lecture, you don't get to speak, and that's where the lecturer is restricted, because does he understand whether the students are learning or not?
Then how we can use CAT if he's a lecturer and he has to just go for 2 hours lecture, or you know their cultural needs or.
I think also the fact that it's a lecture, they are under the impression that students have gone through a series of high school, secondary school, they've got the IELTS, for example, for overseas, and they are at a level where they should be understanding anyway. So therefore, they wouldn't really...
You know, just like we've been to lecture theatre for our research method classes. Most of us we don't understand, but still we are teachers, we have to. Yeah.
So I think in that case, teachers maybe they need to do their homework, like the composition of their class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why, for example, taking Mary as an example, she knows our class
Ladies,
doing
yeah.
the workshop. So I don't know the lady's name, our lecturer. But I mean, how many people did she know?
Yeah, no.
And whether was it even related to us?
She has no idea that what sort of our needs are central to that. That's true.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed that.
Thank you very much.